Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and today I've got Tom Reber on the show. Tom, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Chris, for having me, man. Good to be here.
Great to have you. And we just spoke as well. I was on your podcast, so really excited about that. I also got a copy of your book, so thank you for sending that over. Definitely adding it. I've got like 3 books going on at the same time, but that's in the queue, so don't worry.
Well, mine's got really big letters and not that many pages, so you're good, man.
Does it come with a couple of crayons for me?
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes I need a little help, but
that's right.
Well, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Tom?
Yeah, well, my name's Tom Reber. I'm an entrepreneur, business coach. I predominantly work with home improvement contractors all over the world. My company's called The Contractor Fight, and been like you, been podcasting, have a top 100 show here on iTunes as well. And
awesome.
We run a sales training program for contractors, business coaching, workshops, all that good stuff. Just have a book coming out here this month. And then later this winter, I have a show that debuts season 1 on HGTV where they cool. Brought me on to be the host, man. So that's
exciting,
me.
Man. I got to level up. I'm like, man, you got a lot of things going on over there. That's really exciting. And I assume, do you have some experience contracting like in a previous life? And now you're kind of teaching contractors.
Yeah, I come from the painting industry. My dad was a tile guy. My uncle was a painter. And I actually chose to get into that because I didn't want to be hunched over all day. And so yeah, built and sold a painting company many years ago, and got tapped on the shoulder one day to speak at an event about marketing a contracting business. Next thing you know, I'm coaching contractors. So here we are.
That's so cool. Kind of love how like serendipitous that, something happens and then you follow that trail. And now here you are, you got a podcast, you're teaching other people from what you've learned, but also kind of how to do it maybe more, not just work hard, but also work smart, which I know, like you said, before we hit record, a lot of what you do is talking about what goes on between our ears, right? Just the head talk and the mindset and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We do zero content or coaching on the actual skills of a trade. Right. I could listen, all craftsmanship is important. I get that. It's amazing. And, you should, be proud of what you do. But most home improvement contractors don't make what they should be making because they don't figure out how to brand their business, how to lead their teams better, how to sell, how to price their work, what their numbers look like, all those other things that, quite honestly, we tell people the day you go into business for yourself is the day you give up the right to be a craftsman first. You now have to be a business owner first. And that's what the Contractor Fight is about. You touched on the mindset. It's winning that 6 inches of territory between our ears. And, by, bettering our self-talk and, seeing our value and coaching ourselves up in those ways.
100%. And so many times people, they get good at something and they decide, oh, I can just do this for myself. But when they might've been very, very good at that craft, being the business owner and then having all kinds of things to take care of is all like a whole nother ball game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you're a business owner, man, you're a salesperson. You're a leader. You're a shrink because you got to deal with your people and your customers. You got to learn how to market. And there's all these things that fall on you as a leader. Now, on my show earlier that you mentioned, we talked about outsourcing these things and, but you still are responsible for all of these different things in your business. And that's, I think, one of the big surprises most business owners run into is, while there's this whole other end to owning a business that involves me marketing and branding and, learning how to really sell and lead people and stuff that make it pretty challenging at times.
Definitely. So what would be something that you recommend people start with? Because when you go to the business owner side, like you said, there's so many different things. And when you first get started, you're likely doing all of them. Is there a certain thing you recommend people focus on whenever they shift from, independent contractor to business owner?
Yeah. Well, in our world, we, step one of all of our stuff that we do in the Contractor Fight, it's called Own Your Crap, where you need to look in the mirror and get real with why you're not more successful. And it's a character issue. It's never like, I'm no good at marketing. Well, why are you not good at marketing? Okay, let's go deeper. And so we all have some baggage that we're carrying around that affects how we show up in the world every day. And that's where we start with everybody. So for example, I spent, I'm 52 and I spent more than half of my life being crippled by this baggage that I was carrying around with me, that I wasn't smart. I literally rode the short bus in grade school for a couple of years. I was in special ed, and some other things, but that was really kind of something that I was hanging my identity on that wasn't necessarily accurate, that I wasn't smart. And so, until I went toe to toe with that, until I really dealt with that and owned my crap and said, this is the thing that's holding me back, I never had the progress that I've had since. So we start every relationship with people is look in the mirror, own your crap. You're not a victim. Let's get real with where you're at and why you haven't reached your goals. And it could be as simple as, I don't know, let's take fitness, right? Weight loss or something.
Yeah.
I'm not lighter because I'm simply not disciplined. Right? Like, let's just be honest, just get it out there. There's no excuses. Don't give me, I don't have time, or I don't have this, or what. That's all fluff.
Big boned.
Yeah. Big boned, no, you're overweight, and out of shape, and this and that because you lack discipline, period.
Absolutely.
And so, or, one of the things that we get a lot is, people are having a hard time attracting and building a team for their business, and instead of being like, well, people don't want to work and everyone's lazy and the government's handing out money and all this other garbage. No, you're a crappy leader because you haven't figured out how to build the right culture. You haven't built your brand. And again, I'm not sitting there like accusing like you're a bad human being, because I can point the finger back in many ways to myself through the years. And even currently there's things I have to own. Right. So, but so that's really the heart of everything that we start with is you got to own your crap, man.
Yeah. And just taking ownership in general. It's so easy in today's day and age. A lot of people like to finger point, and it's very easy to pass the blame off. Right. I mean, you hear it all the time. You wake up and you want it to work out, but something outside of your control, like, oh, it's raining, I can't go today. No, you can go. It's just going to be a little uncomfortable. Maybe it'll be a little cold. Get out there, stop making excuses. But when you take ownership, you also take that power to make change. Whereas whenever you push it off and you're like, well, I can't do it because of this, I can't do it because of that, you're kind of giving yourself that mental out, which prevents you from taking the steps required to be successful in whatever fitness, your business and relationships. Right. So I love that own your crap is your first thing, because we all have excuses. We can all come up with it. But the minute you stop making excuses and start owning your crap, that's when you start saying, okay, that's my fault. My team didn't do this because I didn't let them know that this is how I wanted things done. Let's update our process, right? You start to get very specific about what do we need to actually do.
Yeah. Every problem in your business is a you problem. It's a leadership problem. It's just, and that again, do your people make mistakes and screw up and do stupid things here and there? Yeah, we all do. I mean, I think back to people I worked for in the past, and the times I was a knucklehead as an employee when I was younger. And, however, we're still in charge of our own company, and it's our company, our name's on it. We sign the checks. And I just think too many times business owners put themselves in the victim seat instead of really saying, no, I'm going to plant my flag and I'm going to build the type of company that I want to build. And that moves us, we always start with own your crap. And then our next big pillar is, we call it, this isn't anything new, it's been said for years, but it's get oxygen, right? The whole airplane analogy and all that stuff. But like what I've found, working with, before I worked with just contractors, I worked with a lot of other non-contractors as a coach and doing workshops and things like that. And what I've seen across the board is men and women who run businesses have amazing hearts. They're extremely loyal to their people, and their vendors and their employees or whatever. And not as good as that is, it's also very damaging because they don't often commit to getting oxygen themselves, meaning they're not paying themselves first. They're not taking care of their bodies, their minds. They're not getting the rest they need to get. And listen, this. I mean, if you don't take care of, if I'm not as strong as I can possibly be mentally, physically, and financially, then I'm not going to be as good for the other people I care about. And so we Yeah. Are there seasons of business where you're wearing all the hats and you might not be making the money you want to make and all that? Yeah, but you still need to pay yourself first. You still need to take care of yourself. And this is just a business.
Yeah.
The many years ago, I forget his name. I think his last name was Dyson. There was a CEO from Coke many years ago, who gave a real short speech somewhere. And I just saw it in writing one day. He said, you have all these balls in your life that you're trying to juggle, right? You have your family and your marriage and your health and your kids and your friends and your work and career, whatever, finances. He says, all the balls are made out of glass except your career. That one's made out of rubber. Okay. And that's always stuck with me, that if I'm going to drop a ball, drop the business one, because it'll always bounce back. Not to say you're a slug with your business, but you get what I'm saying. And where one of the things we say in the contractor fight is you got to quit stealing from your family. We steal because we don't own our crap, and build the habits and be disciplined in the things that really matter. We end up stealing time, money, and memories from the people we love the most, all in pursuit of building this business.
I love that. That's so true, because I mean, like you said, all the other balls are glass. If you drop the ball on your health, I think I remember my mom telling me she heard something about Steve Jobs, right? Where he was saying, all this money means nothing because I don't have my health. And
right.
If you can't actually enjoy the time with your family and experiences, the monetary aspect no longer matters. It's like a triangle, I guess, or maybe, a three-legged stool. You kind of need health, wealth, relationships are the three that I always hear. And if you're suffering in one, you're likely going to suffer in others as well. It blends in. So if you're missing your workout, you start to eat terrible food, you feel tired, you don't do so great on that sales call. It's like a downward spiral, but it could also be the opposite, where you go to that workout, you eat clean because you don't want to waste that workout you had. You really kill it on that call. The other client that you checked in with yesterday, they said they want to move forward with you, and then things start to go in that positive direction. So it's these little things that matter so much that we often overlook.
Yeah, 100%. I know the average entrepreneur feels guilty when they take time for themselves. Listen, we talked on my show earlier, we both play drums.
Yeah.
Right. And I used to gig 5-6 nights a week. I did session work and all this stuff, and it was a blast, and it was a huge part of my life. And then I started building my first business, and I don't think I touched my drums really for like 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And you throw away these things that mean a lot to you, and, or taking care of your health. I mean, I don't know how many times we're going to say that today.
It's important,
but it is important. And, I think it was from Strategic Coach, Dan Sullivan. Okay. It's the first time I heard this, but he has what he calls free days, focus days, and buffer days.
Okay.
And when he plans his year. And so many of us entrepreneurs feel like, and I'm guilty of this too, if I'm not keeping myself in check, I go off the deep end just like anybody else, just so we know. When he plans his year, him and his wife, who's also his business partner, they sit down and they basically go, these are the days this year. And it's usually 120 to 130 days a year that they're going to take off. They just put an X on it on the calendar, say, we're not here. We're not reachable. We're not here. Zero work.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of psychology that goes into this and blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line is you will find that the more scheduled days off that you take to get oxygen, to work on you, to just relax, to let your brain just chill, you will be way more productive and efficient in your business on the days that you're there. And then the other days are buffer days where you prepare to do the thing you do. And then the focus days are the days you do the thing you do. Okay. That's a abbreviated description of his methodology, but I can't stress how important it is for entrepreneurs to take some time. And listen, you might not get to take a whole day right now, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, my fiance and I, we try to get time every single day, whether it's a quick little walk, whether we go to the gym together, we have happy hour in our backyard, have a glass of wine, whatever. And then sometimes I'll go back to work.
Yeah.
Because I am blessed, with what I do. I can work anywhere, anytime, and this and that. And I do a lot on social. And so it could be, but if I just put this thing down, this phone thing for half an hour, it's amazing how, your brain can recoup and stuff like that. In fact, last night I told you I'm guilty of this stuff. We were outside, we were talking, and she paused for a minute. When she paused, I picked my phone up. I started to do something. She started talking to me again. And she's like, let me know when you're going to be done with that so that we can finish our conversation. And it's like, I have to be called out, man, because this shit's addictive. It's like,
it is.
And we would, as an entrepreneur, if we don't put some limits on us, we'll always be on.
That's the problem. And I really resonated with what you said there. Cause I mean, I loved drums for years. And then I got into the whole entrepreneur thing. It was still fine playing the drums when I had a job because I was getting paid every 2 weeks. But now I felt guilty anytime I would play because I'm like, I could be lead generating. I could be building my business. There's this event that I could go to instead of playing the drums. And one of those other things for me that I found had been missing is video games. I always played as a kid, Halo, all the Halos on Xbox. I played like the original Nintendo. And then I never made time for video games anymore. And so we just bought a Nintendo Switch a couple of weeks ago. And it's been really fun for having friends over and playing like Mario Party and Super Smash Bros. And all these games that I felt like that's for kids. I don't have time for that. But now it's creating the space where we have friends over, we entertain, we like to be, the hosts. And it creates that space where you get to relax and recover and buffer in a way, right? You recharge so that when you're there, you're all in. And I like to think of that phrase that says, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 4 hours sharpening the axe.
Yep.
That's what I want to focus on, sharpening the axe. So whenever I'm there, boom, I don't have to hit the tree for 6 hours. I'm only hitting it for 2 and I'm getting more done in less time.
Yeah. There's a lot of crossover from the interview that we just did on my show for you. Right. And
for sure.
People are always like, oh, I know you're so busy and all this other stuff. Cause I get a lot done. I accomplish a lot. I mean, in the last 7 months, we've tripled my business.
It's awesome.
Wrote a book, put out an event for 350 people. We got a show coming out on HGTV. And I've hired X amount of people, done this. I merged 2 of my brands together. I mean, we've done a ton especially in the last 90 days. And everyone's like, my God, you're so busy and you're so organized and this. And I'm like, no, I'm just fanatical about what my lane is in my day and in my business.
And sticking to it.
And then I'm fanatically consistent is my thing. I'll back up with the show that's coming on HGTV here in the winter, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, people try to get to be a host of a show and this and that. And how did you do it? They found me on YouTube. And the reason they found me on YouTube is several years ago, I made a video and then I made another video and then I made another video and the videos were terrible and they sucked. And I didn't know how to do the tagging and all the other description stuff. And if you go back, the lighting's horrible and the sound is bad and but I was just too stubborn to stop. And my end goal was not to have a show. My end goal was to build my business to help contractors win the contractor fight between their ears and all that other stuff. So, so I would encourage people, get really clear on the things that only you do in your business that move the needle forward and be relentlessly committed to those things, and build that. And that should be like that for everybody in your company, by the way. Everybody in your company should have their lane that they're in, and they're very protective of it. And I don't mean like stay out of my territory. I just mean like, this is my job. Thing. This is what I do. And I'm going to go all in. I mean, dude, you talked about sharpening the axe. I spend the first 3 hours of every morning sharpening my axe. And then most days, unless I have a crazy day of content recording podcasts like today is, most days when I'm dialed in, I'm probably done by 11 a.m. with anything that I really have to do. And then everything else is a bonus, or I can get hijacked by whatever else in the business and put out fires and shit like that.
Yeah.
So,
and even same here. I mean, I'll have the first few hours of my day by design. I don't allow people to usually book me before noon or 1 p.m. So I can have the flexibility where I told someone about this a few weeks ago. I went to the gym. I saw this big lifted truck that said, we buy houses, Cheyenne. And I met the owner. I looked at their Instagram, kind of found the owner in the gym, started talking to him. Hey, I'm in a real estate as well. I've got some experience on the wholesale side. And because I had that flexibility, I was able to ask him and his acquisitions guy, what are you doing after this? You guys want to go get a bite to eat? And we had the flexibility to do that because I didn't have anything until 1 p.m.
Right.
Offer to pay for them and stuff, and like really build that relationship. Where if I had my day full of stuff already, I'd be like, well, I don't really have time to talk to them. I got this call in 30 minutes and I wouldn't have had time to go to lunch either. So being intentional, but I'd really love to hear, if you don't mind sharing, on like, what do you do when you're sharpening the axe in the morning? What does your routine look like? I assume it's exercise and, meditate, maybe stuff like that.
Yeah. So it ain't meditate. I'll tell you that. It should be, but so I start, one of my coaches encouraged me to create what's called a legacy statement. And it's here on the screen if you can see it, but it takes me about 3.5 minutes to read through it every morning. And so the first thing I do every day is I recite my statement. And a lot of it is, my purpose and affirmations. I have my code that I try to live by. That's 7 like bullets that mean something to me. So like, one would be, one is mediocrity dies today. Like that's how I try to live, is just, we don't have room to be mediocre here. Another might be,
I need to add that to mine, because sometimes I find myself getting complacent, like, good, it's good. Good is the enemy of great. What are some of your other ones?
Be here, give all.
Love it.
I got ADD out the yin yang, man. And it's like,
so
really
meditation's out the window, right?
Yeah. But I really try to dial in, and I might hit it 50% of the time.
Okay.
If I'm honest. Another one's, live unafraid. Just, I want to show up at everything that I do and, get up one more time, lead in kindness. Another one is finish. It's very easy to start things, but can you finish them? Right. And just see things through. And so that's kind of the crux of my code. And then I get into my affirmations and things. And then I get into, just different, obviously, goals that I have for the business. So that starts the day. And then I send a morning message, where I take, and we talked disc profiles earlier. I'm a really high D. I'm a fast decision maker. I'm on the go, right? I don't overthink many things. And so I just, for maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes tops, I'll do some reading, and then I'll put my brain on, like, what is my thought of the day, in a sense. And then I share that. I have 2 text threads. I have one with my, it's called the Morning Mojo. And I have a text thread with my team and all my partners and stuff that I send out. That's my, thought. And so, like, I'll just give you an example here. Let me go to today's. So today I sent it out to my team, and I also send this message out to my family. So my fiance and our kids are on a separate one. And it's funny, all my business people, they're liking it and loving it and stuff. And then on the family side, she's the only one that loves it. And all the kids are like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. They're 21 and younger. Right. Yep. So they're, but like today was Morning Mojo, own each moment today, lean in, be there, attack, and then win the day. Like, it's just something that's awesome. a quick little hitter, that also, it's really more for me. And I just share it with the people I'm close to. Then I hit the gym. And when I say the gym recently, so I'm a big weighted vest guy, so I'll do runs with that. I do a lot of kettlebell stuff, but I started going to the gym probably 3 times a week now with her, to Pilates, because my mobility and my core, just mainly my mobility, needed some work. Yeah. And dude, I hate every minute of it.
I've been going to yoga.
Yeah. And I go for a couple of reasons. The number one reason I go is to be with her, to get some time for together. Her first thing in the day. And then my mobility is secondary, but, and all of that. And then, now and then I might have to run a kid to school in that window or whatever. Right. But that's just kind of like that. I do a lot of reading. And then I'll spend some time in that 3-hour window is when I usually do like my Instagram posts, and I just kind of get them out there and then they're done.
Perfect.
And that's, so nothing crazy. I used to try to do the meditation thing, and I need to give it a shot again. So
yeah, I've been doing the whole miracle morning thing. And most recently I started doing, if you've ever heard of like sensory deprivation tanks, the float tanks, I started doing that. And the first time it was a 90-minute session, you know, pitch black, you're floating there in like near zero gravity in this salt water solution. And you're like, your mind's racing. You're like, God, I got to be here for 90 minutes. The second time it went surprisingly fast. You kind of get into the state where you empty your mind, you stop thinking about all the chatter, the distractions. And the sign, when I was walking up to it, it was kind of cool. It's like you're steps away from absolutely nothing. And I'm like, I need that, because there's, you know, dings and rings and your phone and voicemail. And I got 3 podcasts today, you know, like that whole thing. And just knowing that you have nothing on the calendar for a full 90 minutes, no text messages, no emails, no one can get to you. You're kind of like in this little bubble, and like it feels like you're floating through space because you don't see anything. It's all black.
How do you feel after?
You feel pretty amazing. I mean, I feel like it's clear. I'm not tired from thinking all the time. And I know you said your mind's always racing, and I have a lot of, even meditating, sitting for 10 minutes is tough because I could just open my eyes and my cat jumps on my lap or distracts me, right? But when you're there, you're committed. You know you can't go anywhere. Like the music will start playing at the end when it's done. So you almost trap yourself there and force yourself to do it. That's so cool. That was helpful for me in case you want to try that out. It's like $50 or something.
Yeah.
To go into one of those pods.
I've heard of those, man. I'll have to check into that. Well, you know, it's funny. It's not this cool is what you're talking about, but sometimes when I have to drive somewhere, I will put my phone on airplane and I just won't turn any music on and whatever it is. And I'll just take 10, 15, 20, half an hour, whatever it is, just
crazy
where I'm not listening to anything.
Or even on a walk. It's so weird going on a walk without anything, where I'm like, man, I hear birds chirping and there's like a grasshopper over, you know, those things that you usually tune out because you're listening to a podcast or even to music. Because I'm one of those people, right? I'll put in my earbuds and I'm listening to an audiobook. I'm always listening to something and learning something, but just the power of silence is therapeutic, and it kind of helps stop all the chatter in your mind from racing.
My best business ideas come when I go for a run or a walk and I don't have any earbuds in.
It's awesome.
And it's the combination of not having any external stimulus like sound in my ears and me moving my body. That combination, I always get more creative. I'm always more refreshed. So this goes back to, you know, we got to get oxygen. This is what it means to get oxygen. You got to fuel yourself, man. You know? Yeah.
I love that analogy. Cause I mean, it is like the oxygen on the plane. You can't take care of other people if you're not taking care of yourself. So I know we talked about all those things, health, family, you know, wealth, relationships. You really have to have a very well balanced and well-rounded diversity in everything that you do. So just your morning routine is a huge one. You go work out, you know, you spend time with your fiance, you're getting your mobility through the Pilates, your list on your notes as well. I love that. I wrote a few things down, you know, your legacy statement, be here, give all, live unafraid, sending the text to your group or your partners. It helps you get your mind in the right state of flow.
Yeah. You know, this whole text thing started maybe 2 months ago. And it started because I was out on a walk.
Of course it starts there.
And I was thinking about all the amazing influences I've had, personal development coaches. And then I owned my crap on the walk, and I'm like, God, I haven't done a very good job of like transferring that to the people that I care about the most. And that's where I thought about my kids first, our kids. And I mean, I don't know about you, but most people I run into were never taught how to, you know, manage their time or energy in school. They weren't taught how to think about money. They weren't taught all these things we're thinking about, which is what school really should be,
right?
Is personal development, I think.
Instead of memorizing equations that you'll never use.
Yeah. And so I was like, man, I've kind of done a disservice here. So, you know, to the people I care about the most. And so I'm just like, I'm just going to share a text each and every morning. And then that led to me doing it with all my employees and my team. But here's what's funny. If I go to, I'm gonna scroll all the way back to the very first text I sent to the family. This is funny. Because the first time I did it, it was, you would have thought I asked everybody to chop a hand off or something.
Did you say, hey, let's use this thread for the positive message? And everyone's like, oh, I roll.
Yeah, it was, all right, here it is. Yes, it's been, what's today? The 18th? It's been 2 months to the day. Okay. I said, kids, attack today, do everything today with passion, optimism, and maximum effort. You set the standard and be the example for others as to how life should be lived. I love you. All right. She loved it right out of the gate. And then one of the kids goes, that's a lot of effort. And then,
they're coming like the teenager responses and stuff. Right.
And then I replied, that's how you win, man. That's how you win. And then one of the other kids chimed in with something like, screw you. And then, wasn't that brutal? One of the other kids, who's a super high achiever, loved it. Someone else questioned it. We have 5 kids between us, by the way. And then one's like, get me out of this group chat.
That's like my younger brother. He would say that, like, oh my gosh, why do they add us in this group chat with 30 cousins,
Yeah. And then my fiance, she replied, this is just a family thing. Just play along and no one gets hurt. Right.
No one gets grounded or locked in the closet. Yeah.
And then the next day I replied, to be clear, these texts, I'm sharing this for your audience because guys, it's not like this stuff just happens and there's never like
it
crap
starts
you
with
got
an
to work
idea
through.
And you work through it.
And I said, to be clear, these texts for me are daily thoughts to help all of us be better in life. There's no need to reply. I ask that you just read it and think on it a bit as you go about your day. I love you. And here's today's. And then I gave the next one. And it's funny. Now they've just realized that this is just part of life. And every now and then one of them will like something, but here's the thing. I can't go back in time and go, man, I wish I would have done certain things differently like this as a parent to where this became a habit for them. Right.
Right.
But I could start now. The best time to plant trees 20 years ago, the second best time is today. And so I could either be a victim or, throw a pity party over the fact that, I feel I kind of dropped the ball in this area, or I can own my crap with it and then do something about it. And that's what I've chosen to do. And that's what I'm doing with my team and my company. A lot of the days they're the same exact message, but that's my way of getting my thoughts into my team, which helps create our culture. And Absolutely. We have a culture here that, we're not the victims and we're high achievers and we have bad days. And like yesterday's message, I had nothing, man. Yes. Sunday's message, I had nothing. And I just go, morning mojo, be you. And dude,
short and sweet.
My whole team loved it. They were like, oh, thank God, because it was just, but I'm also modeling for them consistency.
Yes. You're posting something, whether it's, one paragraph or a simple sentence.
Yeah. And so my hope with my kids with this is that some point in their life, they'll draw from one of these stupid messages they got and it helps them be a little bit better during the day at some point. So
I love that. And it does work because I will say, my mom does that with I got 2 brothers and she'll send a lot of like religious stuff and like, hey, like a weird meme that's like sparkling. I'm like, where do you find this stuff? I don't know. I don't even know. And while I may not always like or love or reply, it's still something like I read it, I acknowledge it, and it's always there in that thread if I want to go back to it. So those messages do get seen, right? Because even my younger brother watches all my stories and maybe he doesn't reply to it or like it on Instagram or something, but I see that he saw it. So, right, it's going into a subconscious. He's seeing what I'm doing. I'm setting the example. So by you doing that, you're showing, hey, I'm going to be consistent and I would love for you to be as well. The other thing I wanted to point out is I really love how you said you're not going to worry about what you could have done and that you weren't that great in that area. You're fixing it today. Because that was something that I learned when I was growing up. My parents had that pattern. They really love saying like, oh, you should have done this. Like we should have done that, or we could have done this. And I'm like, let's stop using that, because why worry about what you could have done that you didn't do? Because you can't do it now. Focus on what you can do right now and let's make it better going forward.
Well, leadership is influence. Okay. Yeah. And so whether it's our families, whether it's our teams, employees, whatever.
Colleagues. Yeah. Anybody.
Yeah. Colleagues. This is just one way that I'm choosing to just go, all right, I'm going to be intentional about having some sort of positive influence over my people first thing in the morning. Right. And it's also self-serving because it's part of, I believe that, we have a saying here in the fight, and called TBAR, TBAR, thoughts, beliefs, actions, results. Right. And so, if you have crappy thoughts, all right, let's use this one that's huge with business owners is I can't charge more money. Okay. Right. Whatever it might be. Right. So many people have so much garbage in their head about their value and money and their worth and what they can do and this and that. So if you grew up like I did, like Rebers never make money. Rebers are always going to be on this side of the tracks and the others are on that side of the tracks. Like that was my life growing up. Well, those become beliefs. What we tell ourselves consciously or subconsciously become our beliefs. Mm-hmm. We have 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are negative. Most of them are on autopilot subconsciously from the day before. And if one of those in this money thing is that I'm not worth more money, I can't raise my prices, blah, 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 that becomes a belief. And then my actions reflect that belief. My actions will never not reflect what I believe. And then that'll get me the result I want or don't want. On the flip side, if I'm telling myself in my legacy statement, like here, like one of the things I tell myself in there is I'm a magnet for money and success. Making money is easy, but I'm changing my thoughts. They've now become my beliefs where I'm to the point now after several years of doing that. I truly believe that making money is a piece of cake. Now my actions will reflect that, meaning like I coach people, I go, you got to raise your prices. I can't raise my prices. It's because they don't believe they can because of their thoughts. Well, when you take control of that, now you can finally take the action, raise your prices, have some respect for yourself and your business and your team. And now you're going to get the results that you want. So T-bar is a thing that we really, I don't even know what got me onto that, but
thank you for sharing though. That was really
good.
ADD,
man. It's my ADD.
Thoughts, beliefs, actions, results. That's so T-bar. True because thoughts lead to things, right? I think thoughts become things. I've heard that. What you think becomes your reality because your actions reflect your thinking, like your programming that maybe you're subconsciously don't even realize that you have. The negative thoughts you raise, I can't charge that. That's too expensive. No one will ever pay that. Yep. I'll never be a millionaire, like whatever it is, right? We all have that. And so reprogramming it, catching yourself and changing it, I can do that. Your legacy statement, reviewing that every day puts that into your subconscious so that as you go through your day, you're like, no, I'm a high ticket. I've got clients that pay high ticket prices. Mm-hmm. I don't have to justify why it is, take it or leave it. Do you want to work with me or not? Do you want the results? Right. And so you approach your day in an entirely different manner.
Well, I shared earlier about the short bus.
Yeah.
Here's the opposite. For many years, I underachieved in life in damn near every area because I had this fundamental belief. I kept telling myself I was thoughts that I wasn't smart. Okay. I can't compete intellectually with people. These are literally things I would tell myself where that became my belief that I'm just stupid. So then I wouldn't take the actions like trying in school, sharing what was really on my mind and my closest relationships or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then the results I got was not what I wanted.
Grades, right.
So yeah,
that's a perfect example.
Works either way, man.
It really does. So we've talked about so many amazing things that I know I want to be respectful of your time. Sure. Is there anything that we missed or anything else you'd like to add? I mean, again, I love everything we talked about. So definitely everyone go listen to Tom's podcast. He talks about this and a lot more. I was listening to a couple of episodes earlier today as well to prepare for this. But yeah, if there's anything else you'd like to add or anything you think we're missing, feel free to go ahead.
I guess the only thing I would add, is owning your crap, getting oxygen, this and that. You've probably shared this 1,000 times on your show in some way, shape or form, but be really picky who you hang out with, like we've spent almost 2 hours here today together on each other's show, having conversations. This is like good.
I've enjoyed this
stuff, right? This is good stuff. So be careful who you hang with, what you watch and things like that, because those lead to those thoughts and those beliefs that we're talking about. One of the things I talk about in the book was there's a whole chapter on show me your friends. And I share about how my life radically changed when I got really serious in the business realm about who I was going to hang out with and who I wasn't. Mm-hmm. So what I see a lot with home improvement contractors is people are hanging with people that say, you can't charge your prices, you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. That'll never work. Right. And so you got to remove yourself from those circles. And, maybe your friends right now are on podcasts like ours. Maybe it's in a book, maybe it's in a certain group that you need to join or whatever it is, but find a place where there are people a lap or two ahead of you in this stuff. And I promise you commit to hanging around them. You're going to see whatever area of life you want to improve, it's going to improve.
That's such great advice. And I mean, you can never hear it enough, right? You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, because it's true. That goes back into the programming. The people who are saying these things can't be done, or, oh, you're too dumb for that. Or, hey, Chris, that's for, Stanford graduates, just have a startup or something, right? You talk yourself out of all these things because of who you hang out with. Yep. But you'll find that when you go to those groups, like you were talking about, you feel like you could freaking do anything. It's like, dude, I could create the next Disney World tomorrow with my friends, like what they've accomplished. And the fact that so many people who have done what you thought previously was impossible, it is almost like that. Oh, they did it and they're kind of like me. I could do it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And this isn't meant to be like, self-help quote day, right? Where we're just reciting, like, this is real stuff that very works. And I guess I'll end with this. Here's the proof that it works. When I hear something and I go, wow, I should do that, I should change that, or, whatever. And then I make a commitment to do it. The only way this stuff works is if you honor the commitment to do it. Then your confidence grows. Every time I honor, like, if it could be going to the gym, I'm going to go work out from this time to this time. If I do it, my confidence grows in myself because I honored a commitment I made to myself. If I don't do it, my self-confidence takes a hit, and now I'm operating from a deficit again. And so one of the reasons that so many people who consume things like we're talking about here and read these things and listen to these things don't get the results they want is they keep letting themselves off the hook and not honoring the commitments they made to themselves. So it's always going to come down to you taking action and implementing.
It's all those little things. I know we talked about earlier. It's those little things that seem like they don't matter that matter the most. And that stacks up over time. You either have those wins or those losses. And obviously you want to stack wins. So Tom, this has been amazing. Where can our audience go to learn more about you, to get a copy of your book? And maybe when should they keep an eye out for HGTV? Like, when is all that happening?
Well, the show's called Unfinished Business. And what I'm hearing, it's going to come out in January of 2022 on HGTV. So look for some promos on that if you're into that. And then as far as anything else, you can head to thecontractorfight.com or on Instagram, Real Tom Reber, and give me a follow there and catch up with some stuff. The book is officially launched on October 23rd. It's available on Amazon and on my website and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, I really enjoyed this. Lots of great stuff. I know we talked about mindset, but really that's probably 95% of it. Because if you don't believe, you won't take the right action. So everyone listening, make sure to follow Tom, dive into his world, pre-order the book, or, stay tuned for when you can get that. Check out the HGTV show. And Tom, love to keep in touch. You're not too far from me, in terms of location. Man. So maybe we'll run into each other at a conference or something soon.
That'd be good stuff, man.
Awesome.
So
thanks
again, Chris. I appreciate it, buddy.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being a listener to the show and for checking out my message. If you've been here for a while, I'm especially grateful for you. But if you're new here, thank you once again for being a listener. Just wanted to let you know, I help people buy, sell, or rent real estate across the nation in the US. I probably could even help you across the world, but it just gets a little more difficult with time zones and setting up times to chat. If you have any questions at all, shoot me a DM on Instagram. My handle is chrisbello_, or you can also go to my website, chrisbello.com/real estate. Again, that is chrisbello.com/real estate. Happy to help any way that I can. And thank you once again for being a listener.